My name's Marla King, 30 years old, an auto mechanic grinding away in Klamath Falls, Oregon. I've been bankrolling my sister's high-end nail salon and my parents' rent in their fancy neighborhood for years, pouring every dime I earn into their dreams. But at Thanksgiving dinner, my mother stared me down with that cold, smug look and said, "Marla, you're not sophisticated enough to have a say in this family." Her words burned like a knife twisting in my chest. I clenched my fists under the table, my face hot with shame and anger. Me, the one keeping their lives afloat, reduced to a low-class nobody in their eyes. That night alone in my small apartment with my cats purring nearby, I made a choice. I was done being their doormat. They'd never see it coming I'd cut them off for good and take back my life. If you've ever been disrespected by your own family, hit subscribe and share your story below. You won't believe what I did next. I've been an auto mechanic in Klamath Falls, Oregon for nearly a decade, fixing cars and paying bills to keep my family's world spinning. My sister Janet runs a high-end nail salon downtown, the kind of place where clients sip sparkling water while getting $100 manicures. I've been funneling money into her business for years. New equipment, fancy decor, you name it. My parents rent for their sleek modern house in the upscale part of town. That's on me too. I never minded, not really. Growing up, I was the kid who'd rather get her hands dirty than chase glamour, and I thought my family appreciated that. But lately, I've been feeling like an outsider in my own family. It started with small things. My mother would roll her eyes when I talked about my job like fixing engines was beneath her. Janet would laugh off my suggestions about her salon's budget, saying I wouldn't understand high-end clientele. My father stayed quiet as usual, letting Mom take the lead. I brushed it off, told myself it was just their way, but it wore me down like a tire losing tread. Last month, Janet called me out of the blue. "Marla, we're hosting Thanksgiving at my place." She said, her voice all polished and professional, like she was talking to a client. "Mom and Dad will be there. It's a big deal, so dress nice, okay?" I bit my tongue. Dress nice? I work in a garage, not a boutique. Still, I said yes, thinking it'd be a chance to feel like part of the family again. I spent that week buried in work oil changes, brake repairs, the usual grind. My cats purring on the couch were the only ones who seemed to care I was home after a long day. The day before Thanksgiving, I was under a pickup truck wrench in hand when my phone buzzed. It was my mother. "Marla, don't be late tomorrow," she said, her tone sharp like I was already messing up. "And don't bring up your job. It's not the kind of thing we talk about at dinner." I froze, grease smudged on my cheek. My job, the one paying for their rent, wasn't good enough for their fancy dinner table. I mumbled an okay and hung up my stomach, twisting. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her words, each one a jab at who I am. My cats curled up beside me, their warmth a small comfort. I thought about all the money I'd given them, thousands for Janet's salon, thousands more for my parents' house. I'd never asked for a thank you, but I expected some respect. Instead, I was the invisible one, the one who didn't fit into their polished world. Thanksgiving morning, I pulled on a clean sweater and jeans, best I could do without buying something new. I drove to Janet's house in the upscale neighborhood where every lawn looked like it belonged in a magazine. Her place was a 2-story modern dream, all glass and sharp angles paid for partly with my money. I parked my beat-up truck next to their shiny SUVs, feeling out of place before I even walked in. Inside the house smelled of roasted turkey and expensive candles. Janet greeted me with a quick hug, her perfume overwhelming. "Marla, you made it?" She said, her smile tight like she was checking a box. My mother was in the kitchen arranging a charcuterie board like it was a work of art. "Marla," she said without looking up, "help set the table. Don't just stand there." My father nodded from the couch, barely glancing at me. I set the table, my hands shaking a little. The dining room was stunning, crystal glasses, linen napkins, a centerpiece that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I tried to join their conversation about Janet's latest salon expansion, but every time I opened my mouth, my mother cut me off. "Marla, this isn't your world," she said at one point, her voice dripping with condescension. Janet smirked, and I felt my face flush. By the time we sat down for dinner, I was already on edge. The table was loaded with food turkey stuffing some fancy salad I couldn't pronounce. My mother raised a glass toasting to family and success. I forced a smile, but inside I was boiling. Success, I was the one funding their version of it, yet I was invisible. I tried to speak up, suggesting Janet could cut costs at her salon to save money. That's when my mother snapped her eyes cold as ice. "Marla, you're not sophisticated enough to have a say in this family," she said. The words hit like a brick, and the room went quiet. I stared at my plate, my fork frozen in my hand. Janet didn't say a word, just sipped her wine. My father looked away as always. I felt small, like I was shrinking under their gazes, but something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to let them treat me like this anymore. That moment sitting at their perfect table, I knew I had to take a stand. They had no idea what was coming. The dining room at my sister's house in Klamath Falls was like something out of a lifestyle magazine. Polished oak table, crystal wine glasses, a centerpiece of white roses that screamed money. I sat there feeling like a stranger in my own family, my clean sweater and jeans a stark contrast to Janet's silk dress and my mother's tailored blazer. The smell of roasted turkey filled the air, but it did nothing to ease the knot in my stomach. I'd driven across town to be here, hoping for a moment of connection, but every second made me feel smaller. Janet was in her element, playing the perfect host. Marla passed the mashed potatoes. She said, her tone clipped like I was a server, not her sister. I handed over the bowl, forcing a smile. My mother was at the head of the table, sipping wine, her eyes scanning the room like she was judging every detail. My father sat quietly as always, nodding along to whatever Mom said. I tried to join the conversation, mentioning a new client at the garage who'd praised my work. "That's nice," my mother said, her voice flat, cutting me off before I could finish. Janet smirked, twirling her fork. The meal went on like that, me trying to contribute, them shutting me down. They talked about Janet's salon expansion, her plans to hire a celebrity nail artist from Portland. I suggested she could save money by training her current staff instead. "Marla," my mother snapped, her eyes narrowing. "You don't know anything about running a high-end business." Her words stung, but I bit my lip, not wanting to make a scene. I focused on my plate, pushing the stuffing around my appetite. Gone. Then it got worse. My mother started talking about their upcoming trip to Napa Valley, paid for with money I'd helped provide. "We're staying at a vineyard estate," she said, her voice dripping with pride. "It's the kind of place people like us belong." I couldn't hold back anymore. "People like us?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. "What's that supposed to mean?" Janet rolled her eyes, and my mother leaned forward, her gaze cold as steel. "Marla, you're not sophisticated enough to have a say in this family," she said, each word like a dagger. "You fix cars. That's your world, not ours." The room went silent. My fork clattered against my plate, my hands shaking. My face burned and my heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. Janet sipped her wine, avoiding my eyes. My father stared at his napkin, as useless as ever. I was the one keeping their lives afloat, paying for Janet's salon, their rent, and yet I was nothing to them. A low-class nobody, just like my mother said. I wanted to scream, to flip the table, to tell them how much I'd sacrificed. But instead, I pushed my chair back, the legs scraping loudly against the floor. "I'm done," I said, my voice low but steady. My mother raised an eyebrow like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "Marla, don't be dramatic," she said. Janet smirked again, and that was it. I grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair and walked out, ignoring their half-hearted calls to stay. The front door slammed behind me, the sound echoing in the quiet neighborhood. I climbed into my truck, my hands still trembling, and drove back to my apartment. When I got home, my cats were waiting their soft purrs, a stark contrast to the venom I'd just faced. I sank onto the couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying my mother's words. Not sophisticated enough. It wasn't just an insult, it was a dismissal of everything I was. I'd spent years giving them my money, my time, my heart, and they'd thrown it back in my face. I thought about the thousands I'd poured into Janet's salon, the rent checks for my parents' fancy house. For what to be treated like I didn't matter, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my bank app, checking the transfers I'd made to them. Thousands every month draining my savings while they lived their high-end lives. I felt a surge of anger, not just at them, but at myself for letting it go on so long. I'd been their safety net, their invisible support, and they'd taken it for granted. That night, something snapped inside me, not out of spite, but out of survival. I wasn't going to be their doormat anymore. I thought about calling them, confronting them right then and there, but I stopped myself. Words wouldn't change them. They'd never see me as an equal, not while I was still footing their bills. I needed to do something bigger, something they'd feel. I opened my laptop and started looking at my finances, calculating what I could save if I stopped sending them money. The numbers were staggering enough to start my own garage, something I'd dreamed of since I was a kid. That's when it hit me I didn't just want to stop helping them. I wanted to take back my life. The next morning I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. My cats curled up beside me, their warmth grounding me. I didn't need their approval, their fancy dinners, or their fake smiles. I had my skills, my work, my pride. I started drafting a plan not just to cut them off, but to build something for myself. They'd never see it coming, and for the first time I didn't care what they thought. I was done playing their game. The days after that Thanksgiving dinner felt like a fog, heavy and suffocating. My mother's words, Marla, "You're not sophisticated enough to have a say," played on a loop in my head, each syllable cutting deeper. I'd driven home that night in a daze, my truck's headlights barely piercing the dark streets of Klamath Falls. My cats Tiger and Lily greeted me at the door, their soft meows pulling me back to reality. I sank onto my couch, staring at the cracked paint on my apartment walls, and let the weight of it all settle in. I'd given my family everything, my money, my time, my heart, and they'd spat in my face. I couldn't shake the image of my mother's cold stare, Janet's smirk, my father's silence. It wasn't just about that one dinner. It was years of being their invisible bank, funding my sister's high-end nail salon and my parents' fancy rent while they treated me like I was less than them. I opened my laptop, my hands trembling with a mix of anger and resolve, and pulled up my bank account. The numbers stared back at me, thousands sent to Janet for new polish racks, UV lamps, and designer chairs. Thousands more to my parents for their sleek house in the upscale part of town. My savings were nearly drained, and for what to be called not sophisticated enough, I scrolled through months of transfers, each one a reminder of how much I'd sacrificed. My chest tightened not with sadness, but with a burning clarity. I'd been their safety net for too long, letting them walk all over me. No more. I logged into my bank's payment portal and hovered over the recurring transfers to Janet and my parents. My finger lingered on the mouse, my heart pounding. This wasn't just about stopping the money, it was about taking back my dignity. I clicked cancel on every automatic payment one by one, watching them disappear from the screen. It felt like cutting a chain I'd been dragging for years. I leaned back, exhaling a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Tiger jumped onto my lap, purring as if he knew I'd just done something big. But the relief was tinged with dread. What would happen when they found out Janet relied on my money to keep her salon looking like a Hollywood set? My parents needed my checks to stay in their fancy neighborhood. Would they lose everything? A part of me felt a pang of guilt picturing them scrambling. But then I remembered my mother's voice, sharp and dismissive, and the guilt faded. They'd made their choice, and now I was making mine. I didn't stop there. I opened a new bank account, one they couldn't touch. I'd given Janet access to my main account years ago just in case she'd said. I'd never questioned it, but now I saw it for what it was, a way to keep me tethered. I called my bank, speaking to a clerk named Sarah, who walked me through setting up two-factor authentication and alerts for any access attempts. "You're being thorough, Ms. King," she said, her voice kind but curious. "I just want to be sure," I replied, my tone firm. I wasn't taking any chances. With the money I'd been sending them, I could finally chase my own dream, opening my own auto repair shop. I'd always wanted my own garage, a place where I could call the shots, not just fix cars for someone else. I started researching, pulling up listings for small commercial spaces in Klamath Falls. One caught my eye, a rundown shop on the edge of town, affordable but with potential. I jotted down the realtor's number, my hands steady for the first time in days. I could see it, a sign with my name, Marla's Auto Repair, in bold letters. The thought made my heart race, not with fear, but with possibility. I spent the next few days sketching out a plan. I'd need equipment, a business license, maybe a small loan to cover startup costs. I stayed up late, my laptop glowing in the dark, as I crunched numbers and made lists. Tiger and Lily sprawled across my couch, their quiet presence keeping me grounded. I didn't tell anyone, not my friends, not my coworkers. This was mine, and I wasn't ready to share it. But the more I planned, the more I felt like myself again, like the Marla who used to dream big before my family's needs took over. Of course, I knew it wouldn't be long before they noticed the money had stopped. My phone buzzed constantly, texts from Janet, voicemails from my mother. "Marla, what's going on with the payment?" Janet texted her. Tone sharp. I ignored it. My mother left a message, her voice clipped. "Marla, we need to talk. This isn't like you." I didn't call back. Each unanswered message felt like a small victory, a step toward breaking free. But deep down, I braced myself. They wouldn't let this go easily. They'd come for me, demanding answers, maybe even guilt-tripping me about family loyalty. I thought about what I'd say when that moment came. I didn't want to scream or fight. I wanted to be clear, calm, unyielding. They'd treated me like I was nothing, and I was done proving my worth to people who'd never see it. I pictured my mother's face, her usual mix of disdain and surprise when she realized I wasn't backing down. I imagined Janet's polished facade cracking when her salon budget took a hit. Even my father, who never said much, would have to face the reality of their choices. By the end of the week, I felt different, lighter, like I'd shed a weight I'd carried for years. I walked into my garage at work, the familiar smell of oil and metal calming my nerves. A coworker, Mike, noticed my focus. "You okay, Marla? You seem different," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "Yeah," I said, smiling for the first time in days. "I'm starting something new." He didn't press, but his nod felt like encouragement. That night, I sat on my couch with Tiger and Lily, a notebook in my lap. I sketched out the logo for my future garage, my pen moving with purpose. I wasn't just cutting them off, I was building something for myself. They'd called me not sophisticated enough, but they were wrong. I was strong enough, smart enough, and done with their games. They'd never see it coming, and for the first time, I was ready for whatever they'd throw at me. A week after I canceled the payments, my phone rang while I was at the garage, elbow deep in an engine repair. I wiped my hands on a rag and glanced at the screen. Janet. I let it go to voicemail, focusing on the task at hand, but she called again and again. By the time my shift ended, I had 5 missed calls and a string of texts. Marla, call me now. This is urgent. I knew what it was about. The money had stopped and they were feeling it. When I got home, Tiger and Lily greeted me with their usual rubs against my legs. I fed them and sank into the couch, my body aching from the day's work. I'd barely settled in when there was a knock at the door, sharp, insistent. I opened it to find Janet standing there, her face flushed, her designer bag slung over her shoulder. She looked out of place in my rundown apartment building, her heels clicking on the concrete step. Marla, what the hell is going on? She demanded, pushing past me without an invitation. She glanced around my small living room, the worn couch, the stack of auto repair manuals on the coffee table, and wrinkled her nose. The payment didn't go through. The salon's rent is due and I'm short. Did you forget? I closed the door, my heart steadying. I'd been preparing for this. I didn't forget, Janet, I said, crossing my arms. I stopped it. On purpose. Her eyes widened and she let out a short laugh like I was joking. Stopped it? Why would you do that? We had an agreement. You said you'd help until the salon was stable. She dropped her bag on the couch, nearly startling Tiger, who darted away. Agreement. I echoed, my voice calm but firm. It was me giving and you taking. For years I've been your bank, Janet. I paid for your equipment, your rent, everything. And what do I get, you and Mom treating me like I'm nothing? Janet rolled her eyes, her hands on her hips. Marla, don't be dramatic. You know how much the salon means to me. It's my business, my life. And you've always been fine with helping. What's changed? What's changed is Thanksgiving, I replied, stepping closer. Mom calling me not sophisticated enough to have a say. You smirking like it was funny. Dad saying nothing. I'm tired of it, Janet. Tired of being the one who funds your fancy life while you look down on mine. She shook her head, her voice rising. That was just Mom being Mom. She didn't mean it like that. You're overreacting. Without your help, the salon could fail. Do you want that on your conscience? We're family, Marla. Family helps each other. I felt a surge of frustration, but I kept my tone even. Family. Where was the family when I needed support? When I was working double shifts to cover your bills? You never asked how I was doing, never thanked me. You just expected more. I'm not your ATM anymore. Janet's face hardened, her eyes narrowing. So that's it. You're punishing us because of one dinner Mom's right. You don't understand our world. Fixing cars in a greasy garage doesn't give you the right to judge how we live. Her words hit, but I didn't flinch. Judge. I'm not judging. I'm protecting myself. You and Mom have made it clear I don't belong in your sophisticated circle. Fine. But my money doesn't belong there either. She paced the room, her heels clicking. Marla, think about Mom and Dad. Their rent. How will they pay it? You're going to let them struggle because you're hurt. That's selfish. Selfish. I snapped, my voice rising for the first time. I've been selfless for years. I put my dreams on hold to support yours. Opening my own garage, I could have done that ages ago, but I was too busy bailing you out. No more, Janet. You all need to stand on your own. She stopped pacing, her expression shifting to something like desperation. Please, Marla. Just one more month. I'll pay you back. We can talk to Mom. Make her apologize. We're sisters. Doesn't that mean anything? I looked at her, the sister who'd always been the golden child, the one who got the praise while I got the scraps. It used to mean everything, but not anymore. You've shown me what family means to you, money. I'm done. Janet grabbed her bag, her face red. You'll regret this, Marla. When the salon suffers, when Mom and Dad have to move, it'll be on you. She stormed out the door, slamming behind her. I stood there, my breath coming in short bursts. Tiger and Lily emerged from hiding, rubbing against my legs. I knelt down, stroking their fur, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. Janet's words echoed, but they didn't change my mind. I'd stood up for myself, and it felt right. They'd never seen me as an equal, but now they'd have to face life without my support. I picked up my notebook, flipping to my garage plans. This was my future, and no one was going to take it from me. The next day at work, I felt a new energy. I fixed a transmission with focus I hadn't had in weeks. My coworker noticed. "Marla, you seem free," he said. I nodded, smiling. "I am." Back home, I continued my plans, researching loans and locations. The confrontation with Janet had sealed it. I was moving forward, no looking back. But I knew it wasn't over. My mother would come next, and she'd be tougher. I braced myself, knowing the worst was yet to come. Still, I was ready. I'd drawn the line, and I wasn't crossing it. 2 days after Janet stormed out, I was in my apartment finalizing my business plan for the garage when the doorbell rang. I glanced at the clock. It was evening, the kind of hour where unexpected visitors spell trouble. I opened the door to find my mother standing there, her coat buttoned tight against the Oregon chill. She looked different, less polished, her hair pulled back, minimal makeup. It was like she'd dressed to seem approachable, but her eyes told a different story, sharp and calculating. "Marla, we need to talk," she said, her voice soft, almost apologetic. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, glancing at Tiger and Lily lounging on the couch. "Those cats of yours are always so calm." I closed the door, my guard up. I'd been expecting this, but seeing her in my space made it real. "Mom, if this is about the money, I've made my decision," I said, crossing my arms. She turned to me, her expression shifting to one of concern. "Marla, Janet told me what happened. I know you're upset, and I'm sorry if my words at Thanksgiving hurt you. I was stressed, and I didn't mean it the way it came out. You know how I get sometimes." I raised an eyebrow, not buying it. "Stressed, Mom, you called me. Not sophisticated enough to have a say in the family." Janet smirked. "Dad did nothing." "It wasn't just one moment, it's how you've all treated me for years." She sighed, sitting on the edge of the couch, patting the spot next to her. "Come sit, Marla. Let's not fight. We're family, and family makes mistakes. I admit I've been hard on you, but it's because I want the best for everyone. Your job is fine, but it's not the life I envisioned for you. I thought helping Janet and us would show you a better way." I stayed standing, my voice steady. "A better way? By looking down on what I do, I've funded Janet's salon and your rent for years, Mom. I've put my dreams on hold so you could live yours. And you've never once acknowledged it. Instead, you make me feel like I'm less than you." Her eyes softened, but I saw the manipulation behind it. "Marla, I do appreciate it. We all do. Without you, we couldn't have the life we have. That's why I'm here to clear the air. Let's forget Thanksgiving. Start fresh. Send the payment and we'll make it up to you. Maybe come over for dinner next week. Janet misses you and Dad does too." I felt a pull, the old habit of giving in, but I pushed it away. "Miss me, or miss my money. You're not here to apologize, Mom. You're here because the rent's due and Janet's salon is in trouble. You think a soft voice and promises will fix it. It won't. I'm done being your backup plan." She stood up, her tone shifting to frustration. "Marla, be reasonable. You can't just cut us off like this. We're your family. What kind of daughter turns her back on her parents? On her sister? If you do this, you'll be alone. Is that what you want?" Her words stung, but I held my ground. "Alone? I've been alone in this family for years, Mom. You and Janet have your world, and I'm just the one paying for it. Dad never speaks up. I deserve better. I deserve respect, not just when you need a check." She paced a few steps, her hands clasped. "Respect, Marla. Respect is earned. You've chosen your path, greasy garages and dirty hands. We tried to guide you to something better, but you refused. Now you're punishing us for it. Think about your father. He's not as strong as he used to be. This stress could break him." I shook my head, my voice firm. "Don't bring Dad into this to guilt me. You've all made choices. Now face them. Find a job, downsize, do what I've done for years, work for it. I'm building my own garage now, Mom. My money goes there, not to you." Her face twisted, the mask slipping. "Your own garage, Marla, that's a pipe dream. You're not cut out for business. You'll fail and then you'll come crawling back. We're your safety net." "No," I said, opening the door. "You were my burden, not anymore. Goodbye, Mom." She hesitated, her eyes wide, but then she walked out, her footsteps echoing down the hall. I closed the door, leaning against it, my breath coming in waves. Tiger and Lily approached, their purrs soothing. I'd done it, stood up to her, the one who'd always controlled the narrative. It hurt, but it felt final. No more manipulation, no more guilt. I was free. The next day, I threw myself into my garage plans, calling the realtor about that rundown shop. "It's yours if you want it," he said. I smiled, feeling the weight lift. My family's hold was broken. They'd try again, but I was done. My life was mine now. The confrontation with my mother left me shaken, but it also sealed my resolve. I spent the next few weeks throwing myself into action, turning my plans into reality. I contacted the realtor about that rundown shop on the edge of Klamath Falls. It was a fixer-upper with rusty tools and peeling paint, but it had good bones. A large bay for cars, a small office, and plenty of potential. I haggled on the price, using every bit of negotiation skill I'd learned from years in the garage. By the end of the month, the keys were in my hand. Marla's auto repair was no longer a dream, it was happening. I used the money I'd saved from stopping the payments to get started. No more thousands going to Janet's salon or my parents' rent. Instead, I invested in tools, a new lift, and some marketing flyers. I worked late nights scrubbing the place clean, painting the walls a crisp white, and hanging my sign outside. Tiger and Lily watched from their perches on the old workbench, their eyes curious as I transformed the space. My co-workers at the old garage were supportive, offering tips and even helping with the heavy lifting on their days off. "You're going to kill it," Marla Mike said, clapping me on the back. As I built my business, the calls from my family dried up. Janet sent a few more angry texts accusing me of ruining her salon, but I blocked her number. My mother left one last voicemail, her voice a mix of anger and pleading. "Marla, this has gone far enough. Call me." I deleted it without replying. My father never reached out. He never did. I changed my phone number, updated my address with the bank, and made sure they couldn't find a way back in. It was a clean break, complete and final. No more dinners, no more guilt trips, no more being their financial crutch. I was done. Opening day was a quiet affair. A few local customers trickled in, drawn by the flyers I'd posted around town. My first job was a simple oil change, but it felt monumental. I was my own boss in my own space, doing what I loved without anyone looking down on me. Word spread fast in Klamath Falls, and soon I had a steady stream of clients. Women especially liked coming to a female-owned garage. They said it felt welcoming, no judgment. I hired a part-time helper, a young kid fresh out of tech school, and taught him the ropes. The business wasn't glamorous, but it was mine, and it was thriving. Months passed, and I heard through the grapevine that my family was struggling. Janet's salon lost some clients, and she had to downsize. My parents moved to a smaller place, something more affordable. I felt a twinge of pity, but not regret. They'd had chances to change, to treat me as an equal, but they chose not to. Now they were learning to live without me, just as I was learning to live without them. I didn't gloat, I moved on. My days filled with purpose. I'd wake up early, feed Tiger and Lily, and head to the garage. The smell of fresh coffee mixed with engine oil became my routine. I joined a local business group, networked with other owners, and even started a mentorship program for young women interested in mechanics. For the first time, I felt seen, not for what I gave, but for who I was. My savings grew, and I splurged on a few things for myself, a new tool set, a weekend trip to the coast with friends. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Looking back, I realize how much I'd lost myself in trying to please them. The constant giving, the silent endurance of their disdain, it had chipped away at me. But cutting them off wasn't revenge. It was self-preservation. I learned that family isn't just blood, it's about mutual respect and support. If it's one-sided, it's not worth holding on to. You have to value yourself first, even if it means walking away from those who should love you most. To anyone listening, if you're in a situation where your family sees you as a wallet or a lesser person, don't wait as long as I did. Stand up for your worth. It might hurt, but the freedom on the other side is worth it. Don't let them dim your light shine on your own terms. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below. Share your experiences. I'd love to hear them. Until next time, take care of yourselves.